had the opportunity recently to see that movie, that documentary film that came out this summer, Won't You Be My Neighbor? The story of Fred Rogers and the work that he did. There was also recently a special that came on PBS too, and I happened to watch that. And you know, Fred Rogers is one of those guys that I have always admired. When I was a little kid, there were three people, three men in particular, outside of my parents, of course, that really formed who I am and who I wanted to be. Mr. Rogers was one of them. C.S. Lewis, the author, was the other. And Pope John Paul II was the third. And there was something in each of these guys that I saw and watched and read that really inspired me, and that was the kind of guy I wanted to be in my own life. And so as I was watching this documentary about Mr. Rogers, you know, threw tears in my eyes half the time because he is such a beautiful man in so many ways. Kind and gentle and loving and authentic. And I think that's what struck me the most about him, that there was such an authenticity about this man, that what you saw was exactly what you got. He was who he appeared to be. But there was a clip, there was a certain moment in that documentary where he was sitting in his little neighborhood home, and he had a guest over, and it was a child prodigy who played the piano like nobody's business. And this little kid was sitting at the piano, and he was just going crazy on the keys. And as I'm watching, it was amazing because my eyes were fixed on this kid's hands, seeing what he could do. Mr. Rogers' eyes were fixed on the boy's face. He was watching the boy and just taking delight in who he was, not necessarily what he could do. And it just struck me how beautiful a scene that was, how focused on this person he was. This person as a person, not as a trained monkey or something that could show off a certain talent or a special gift, but as a person. That really resonated with me because I don't think in society we always have that experience, sadly. I mean, I can think just about a month ago, I was going through the store, I was walking through Walmart and doing my business shopping, and it was a little busier than normal, and I don't know if they were moving things around or inventorying or what, but there were also a lot of stalkers running around, so it was like a lot of obstacles in the way, and you had to be moving and dodging and darting around as you went. And it struck me that morning, despite all of the people and all of the having to maneuver around and pass by, how few people would make eye contact with me. How few people would look at me. Even if you had to scooch over and let someone pass, it was almost as if you weren't there. I'm just in my own little world and driving right around. Not saying good morning, no highs, no smiles, no nods of the head, nothing to acknowledge that we were two human beings passing by one another, going about our daily business. And that mentality, I think, sometimes creeps in to our culture even more, whereby we begin to regard other people not as gifts to be received, but as either obstacles or opportunities. St. James talks about this in his letter today, so we know this is nothing new. James says, what if two people came into your assembly, and you notice the one who's dressed in fine clothing and decked out in jewelry, and then the other one comes in shabby clothing and doesn't really look like anybody. And you pay attention to the one that seems rich and powerful, and you kind of brush aside the one that doesn't have much going for it. Have you not made distinctions? Have you not now just treated this person as not a person at all, but as an object? What can this one do for me? Why am I so focused on the one that appears rich and powerful? Is it because I also want that? I want a benefactor? I want to float in his circle, and I want to go and run where he runs and have those kinds of experiences? I don't see the person, but I see him as an opportunity. What can I gain from this person? And likewise, the other one, the poor, the shabbily dressed one, can't do anything for me, so brush him aside. You just sit over there and keep to yourself. Our culture today, our world today needs, it seems, this more men like Mr. Rogers, who look into a person's eye and see a person for who they are, and who celebrate the personhood of this person. It's the example that we see in Jesus Christ today. There's this great crowd that is very curious about who he is. And the crowd has been hearing of his miracles and wonder-working and all of these different things, and they want to get a glimpse of him, and they want to see who he is, so they're kind of sort of following him. And there's a small group that brings a deaf man with a speech impediment to Jesus and says, "Will you cure this fellow?" Now here's an opportunity for Jesus. He's got this whole crowd. They don't yet believe in him. He could do this miracle right in front of everybody. And in doing that, how many people would see the miracle? How many people might come to faith? How many people might begin to believe? But if Jesus did that, he would no longer be dealing with this man as a human being, but he would be dealing with this man as an object, as an opportunity. Look at what I can get out of you. Look at what I can get if I use you. So Jesus doesn't do that. He takes the man away from the crowd to effect the healing. And when he does that healing for this man, it becomes very intimate and very personal. They are in each other's veins. Jesus is sticking his fingers in his ears and his spittle on his tongue, and they are eye to eye. And they are in an intimate, personal relationship. And it's that kind of relationship that begins to change not just this man's physical being, but his spiritual being as well. Because after Jesus works this miracle, the man and those who brought him to Jesus are all of a sudden convinced. Look at what Jesus did for me. Look at what he did for me. They can't keep quiet, even though Jesus tries to get them to. They can't keep quiet because they have had this personal experience with Jesus. And it was a one-to-one experience. As you and I come to encounter the Lord Jesus, this is the kind of relationship that he wants to have with each and every one of us. The Lord wants to look into our eyes. The Lord wants to meet us one by one and deal with us, not as objects, but as people, as human beings, endowed with great, great dignity. Every human life is aflush with victory and dignity. And Jesus wants to show us that. I will conquer what is wrong within you. I will have a victory. I want to lift your dignity up. I want to show that you are loved and that you are indeed special. And as I think about this, it strikes me right to the heart. And I think it's one of the reasons why I was so enamored watching the documentaries on Mr. Rogers. Because there's something I see even in myself that is not yet perfected. Working in the church, you deal with a lot of people whose lives are not perfect, whose lives are not the way they should be. People who have problems and need counseling, who have sins that need forgiving, who don't know where to go next, who have questions, and they never come at convenient times, because life is not timed conveniently. And sometimes, even as Jesus' priest, I see another person, not as a person, but as an obstacle, as something that gets in my way, a problem to be solved. And that hurts, because I recognize I'm not yet who I'm called to be. And I'm probably not alone in that. How many times have maybe we seen someone who has a need, who has a problem, who has an issue, and we know I'm not going to be able to solve their problem. Or I'm not going to be able to help them as much as they need it. And we want to back away from that. Or we see people as an opportunity. If I just hang out with that person, I'll be more popular. Or I'll be running with a different crowd. Or I'll get opportunities that I didn't have before. That we approach people sometimes, at least I do, as objects, or as opportunities, or as obstacles. The gospel today opens my eyes. Not just the man in this gospel with his ears and his tongue, but my eyes are open. Because I see what happens when we encounter people as people. When we look one another in the face and we say, you're not a problem. You're not an obstacle. You're not an opportunity. You are a person to be loved. That's what Jesus said to this man. That's what God says to us. And I think that's why I find Mr. Rogers so beautiful. Because there's an example of what that looks like. And I just want to look a little more like that. And it shouldn't be that he stands out as one among many. If all of us could look a little more like that, if all of us could give that kind of witness, what a beautiful world we would live in. Truly, we would be neighbors with one another. Truly, we would be brothers and sisters in Christ.